All right, we are live.
Awesome. Hello and welcome to Mimicreee. I'm TJ Shorty.
I'm Kyle, Big Bag.
And thank you so much for joining us to our maiden voyage, our flagship show, of which there are no others in this armada.
Nope, we've never done this before. It's first time, first try. Definitely never made a mistake.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. We are Mimicreee. We are going to be a podcast type channel where we do the thing we love the most.
Which is talk.
Exactly. Over the last few years, me and Kyle have been having many conversations which are very memorable in their humor to their, at least to us, by the way.
We find ourselves very funny.
The variety of topics which all involve one core theme.
Just weird nerd stuff.
And what we're passionate about.
Yeah.
From movies to books to music to video games to tabletop RPGs and the entire gambit in between, with probably a few that I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
A few others in between there.
So we decided we wanted to invite you to the conversation. You, the listener.
It's one of the things, conversation. A lot of what we talk about is broad topics, then we'd like to hear what you have to say about it.
Absolutely.
And there's a comment section for a reason, and we're going to actually be reading them and responding to them. Some through the comic section itself, and some through maybe the next episode, especially if it's a interesting point on something we had made before. Maybe we'll bring it up, or we'll reply to you, like I said, through the comic section. And we really want more people to be just talking, especially in this time right now. I feel like any way you can get out and have some human interaction, whether that be virtual or in real life, is pretty important.
Absolutely. To kind of go over the format that we're going to be following here is every week we're going to be addressing a few topics that we are currently interested in. Be it a new album that's come out, to video game news, to an update, or sometimes even not even new news.
Yeah, just
something
we've come across that's old, and it's like, hey, have you seen this thing?
Absolutely. Reflecting on different highlights of our youth and adolescence that have really stood out and helped shape the nerds that we are today.
Yes, big nerds.
All right, and before we go ahead and really get swimming in this absolute sea of nonsense, Kyle here has some people he wants to address.
Yes, this has been a dream of not only me, but TJ's, and to get this started, there's some people that have really inspired me, as well as kind of pushed me to get this done, and helped get this out to you guys. One of those is just my family. Everybody in my family that has supported me. Not only just TJ, but my father and my mother, and other people in my family that are like, go get it, girl, as well as RazMahDaz. Link to her stuff in the description. She did all the art, all the channel art that you see, as well as intro music at some point, probably not in this episode, but later on. Link to another buddy of mine that's doing some intro music for us. Will be in the description of when it shows up. So that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. Excellent people. They've really helped us get to this point. We stand on their shoulders.
Yes,
absolutely.
Definitely. Shoulders of giants.
Absolutely. So let's start off by asking Kyle, how's your week?
So far it's amazing, because the best thing has ever happened to me. Cyberpunk Red finally came out, and I'm like a little girl with a new book. I'm like, ooh! But other than that, it's just been the usual, just making my way downtown, walking fast. Look at your face, it's priceless.
Absolutely.
But like I said, business as usual. Besides that, how about you?
Well, I'm still kind of adjusting to the weather getting a little bit colder
Yeah,
out there.
it's nippy in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, and having to finally bust out that window scraper for the first time in a long time.
I have yet to have to do that, mainly just because I get home so late and my car is like still warm. So like, and I'm kind of underneath like a carport, so haven't had to do that yet. But every day I'm like, oof, I should really wake up earlier just in case I have to do that.
Yeah, there's been a few times I've got the surprise.
And you're like, oh, I don't even have a window scraper. I'm still using like a CD case, and it's like, wow, I should really pick one of those up, and then I like never do.
Yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, by the time you need one, they're gonna be sold out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like July is prime market
Definitely.
for a window scraper.
Well, I had one that I had actually, my mother gave me because of that reason, and I left it in my first car when I sold it. And that was like almost 2 years ago now. Still have yet to buy a new one. So, I'm a prime example of responsibility here.
Don't I know it? All right. So, interesting thing, Kyle. I was
Yeah.
just reading earlier today about the new attempt at the Assassin's Creed movie.
Oh, I forgot. Like, that was a thing that happened, like the first one, right?
Yeah, 2016, 2017?
16, I believe. And I blocked that memory completely out. And people recently have been talking about it, and I've had like PTSD flashbacks of like, no, not again.
Yeah, where it was a bit of a money grab. Yeah, it was 2016.
Yeah, 16. I remember because I was 16 years old when that happened. Just dated myself.
Yeah, a little bit. Now, mind you, I do have a few centuries on him age-wise, but
Centuries.
not too many.
It's okay. He's 1,000 years old. Just because he looks like a child, it's all right.
Yeah, well, only when I shave.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. If only I could grow a beard.
If only I had hair.
Yeah, well, with the new Assassin's Creed Valhalla that's come out,
Yeah.
which is
A game.
so good.
Is it good?
It is.
I don't know. I'm still burnt from what was the
Unity.
last? Well, Unity apparently is good after like the gajillion patches they put on it. But I still wasn't about it. But the most recent one that's like
they just
the Code of Paint, where it's like just like a regular RPG, and then they put Assassin's Creed.
I mean,
paint on it.
no, this is news to nobody, but yeah,
Right.
they were just machine gun firing Assassin's Creed games.
It was like
really felt
bad. Like
Origins. I enjoyed Origins quite a bit. That was the
which
one
one's
in
that?
Egypt.
There's so many.
There was the one in
That's
Egypt.
the one don't like. I think I haven't. I can't say that because I haven't played it. But
Gotcha.
But from what I've seen, it's like I'm Brotherhood's still my favorite. So I'm like old school fan, and
No.
then they changed it, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, the first two awesome, and then the Ezio trilogy, just boom, 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 great ones.
Who
I think
takes
it was
over after Ezio?
3 was the one where they came to America, I do believe.
Was
And
it
it was
3?
Early American Revolution with
Yes,
the
Indian.
Native American assassin with the
Right.
Templar father.
Yeah, his dad was a Templar. It got weird. That one was weird.
One got weird, Kyle?
Yeah, that was the
One?
start.
Now, my favorite, and one in 2020, the very end of 2020, I still play every once in a while, is Black Flags.
That's everybody's like straight up. If Brotherhood's not their favorite, it's Black Flag.
I mean,
It's a better pirate game, and don't at me. It's a better pirate game than it is Assassin's Creed game. Because everybody's like, oh, what's your favorite part? It's like, oh, it's the boat where you're gonna sea shanties and shoot boats, right? It's not the assassin part of that game.
Well, I don't know. Doing a takedown from the top mast.
That is cool.
That
yeah,
is-
you're right. You got me there.
Oh,
It is pretty sick.
yeah. It just felt like, because some of the I don't want to say mini. Collection quests can
they
drag.
Are bonkers because there's like over 1,000 of like one collect. I think it's like feathers or something. No, feathers is Brotherhood. It's something.
Yeah, exactly.
Music or something. And there's like 1,000 of them, and they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
And not all of them are out in the open, right? You have to try to get some of these.
Yeah, I felt like the collection quests for Black Flags, some of them. So there were still ones that were draggy.
Yeah, obviously.
But like the one where you had to get all the keys to unlock the special armor.
I don't remember that one.
Or you had to go around the different islands and take out the Templars to get the 6 keys for...
yeah, that was actually pretty sick.
Yeah, that one, it was challenging.
Right.
Unless you just absolutely abused sleep and berserker darts.
Yeah.
Which were a very fun mechanic.
Yes.
But the hunting mechanic...
There was a hunting mechanic in that game.
There was.
And I ignored it.
Because, like, to upgrade your boat, you had to, like, pull heists at plantations and take out big ships. And there were... But to gain the materials you needed to upgrade your ship, the cloth, wood, rum. No, I think the rum and the sugar were just for selling.
Right.
But the wood, cloth, and I apologize, I'm forgetting the last one.
Something else.
Were used to upgrade your boat, but to upgrade your own personal armaments,
you had
other than the swords and the guns, the pistols, which you used money for.
Right.
You had to hunt down like a special iguana.
I do remember that
whale,
because
a shark.
There was a armor set that I really wanted because it looked awesome, but I had to hunt like it was some like crazy shark or something. And I remember it because they only spawned around like sunken ships or something like that, so you had to wait around them, and then you had to do that weird fishing like spear thing to get, and it was like a pain because I didn't upgrade like my fishing gear or whatever, so like it broke all the time or something, and it was just I gave up. Like that's when I stopped trying to upgrade anything because it was just a pain. I'm personally not a fan of like
it fell off with the theme with the rest of the game.
Yes,
pirates and assassins and hunting.
And you're a fisherman, a whaler now.
Yeah,
it's like why? I thought I was a thief. I'm doing an honest man's work. That's not right.
Clearly, he didn't play the rest of the game,
right?
Because he's doing all that because of a big oops. Because you have to remember, in the beginning, he ends up on an island, and there is an assassin. After the altercation, he ends up taking the assassin's outfit and the letter. And
they're like, "You're totally an assassin, right?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah, no, and he gets the MacGuffin off of the assassin.
Yes.
And he gives it to the Templars. And then realizes he's just doomed a lot of people to the not living anymore. Diagnose them with the dead. And so, like, quite a bit after that, the reason why he's doing the good guy stuff is he's a pirate. I mean,
But he's like, I just gotta like fix this.
Yeah, I just handed the nuclear briefcase to the baddies.
The baddies. And he's like, oh, dang it, I didn't, whoops. Let's just erase that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, right thing for the wrong reasons.
Big eraser for big problems.
Yeah. Kind of pursuit on the assassin front.
Right.
And not to mention that Captain Kidd is an assassin. And
right.
She kind of acts as a tie between the pirates and the assassins. Yeah. But getting back onto the track, and by the way, this is pretty much how our conversations go.
Yeah.
We'll start a topic, and it will
We'll
journey.
end up in crazy land, yeah.
The Assassin's Creed movie is definitely one where there's trepidation.
I mean, that's par for the course, honestly.
On a superb demonstration of mediocrity.
Wondrous.
Which really begs the question of movies translating to cinema. I mean, it's been a dance that novels have been doing for
they're
longer
mediums.
than we've been around.
Right.
We're translating between mediums of entertainment where there have been some very good
Adaptations?
yeah, where you see Lord of the Rings, where it may not have been a true successor or a mirror of what the actual story was, but followed.
But it was a good adaptation.
It was good.
It's not going to one-to-one, obviously, because they're different mediums.
Yes.
But a good, not only do you have to be a good director or whatever medium you're transferring it to, but you also have to have like a great knowledge of the source material. And when that happens, you can make something its own, but still in the spirit and entertaining, you know, and still be faithful relatively to the spirit of the original text or whatever it is.
I'm trying to think. I know that. Oh, I remember the point I was going to make. The book to movie, yes, have had some struggles, and I'm going to get to the video game to movies here in just a moment. But what started off as an absolutely brilliant translation, and I use started off as my leading foot here,
Right.
was the TV adaptation of Game of Thrones. You look at season 1.
Okay. Context. I have not seen any or read the books, so it's all you here.
The first book to first season, personally, in my opinion, was faithful.
Okay.
From the way that, I mean, the dialogue was almost word for word. They tried to really put the characters as true to the descriptions in the book as possible. I mean, even Tyrion Lannister in episode 1, he had the blonde hair and everything.
Right.
Now, they did quickly lean off that because it wasn't a natural look, and they eventually did transition to the brown hair later, which was more true to the actor himself, but an impressive and honorable effort.
Right.
Now, I am specifically speaking of how it started. And obviously, because the last of the J.R. Martin books have not been written yet.
Yeah.
And so the ending is, well, anybody who's watched and read...
Which, this is the one part I do know, is that people are not happy with...
dissatisfied.
Yes, that's a good word for that.
But the acting, the interactions, the build of the relationship, the balancing of so many main characters in an extended television format with such a true commitment to what the source was artfully done.
Right.
And once again, I'm not telling you how you, the listener, should view it. This is my opinion. And
Right.
if you believe I'm wrong and you want to go ahead and point out differences that you feel like
Yeah,
were
we would
important in
definitely-
between the show and the book, absolutely, let me know.
Yeah, we would definitely like to hear your opinion.
Absolutely.
Your
Now,
points.
book to television leaves enough wiggle room for the soul of the story to come through. It gives that leg room. Now, games to movies.
That's, I feel like, because like books and television have been around a lot longer than games, at least as the form they are now, as mainstream as they are now, have been. And so we understand how you would go about that a lot more. So I feel like it's early for this. This is not something that's been done a lot.
I'm actually going to have to disagree with you on what makes it difficult.
Okay.
A video game gets its immersion
from the action. It's
from
not passive.
Yeah.
It's active.
It's not a story that you are witnessing. You, in a very well story-driven game, you are the reason these things are happening.
Right.
Or not happening.
Yeah. It's
and
your direct action.
The love that people have of that removal of self into a story that they get to take a part in, I think that's what is the biggest challenge of translating a game to a cinema style medium.
So one of the things I'd like to point out is like I feel like older games, maybe this is more true than nowadays, just based on limitations and the way they went about it. But like typically for reference, like Dead Space, have you played any?
I have not.
That's a third-person shooter, typically horror in vibe, and it's spooky, scary. But you didn't make like decisions, right? Like there was like cutscenes and like dialogue that was set, right? The story,
a linear story.
Yeah, it was a linear story, same throughout, right? But which could be adapted, just like you similar to how you would something else, where keep it in the right spirit. But like you said, the action of like actually interacting with it creates a different kind of investment, because something being like scary like passively, and something being scary, well, it's you like you can't look away, right? I feel like it's maybe intense isn't the right word, but a more
different stakes.
It's different. It's two different states.
Yeah, I also think to kind of build off of that linear point, absolutely, the cutscenes and the story points in between are absolutely going to be something that a movie type experience could be able to track. But the in-between parts, the combat, with a skill tree, a pride can be taken on accomplishing. Like a fight scene in a movie, like, wow, that's did a
cool.
thing.
Yeah,
that's cool, backflip, and oh no, that poor man's neck.
Yeah.
But like to embrace that challenge, to get to that point, to build a skill tree, that feeling of progression is also something that I feel like is a investment.
Okay, I have a little bit of a tangent, which is on the same line. So a buddy of mine, I was talking about a game I was playing. Don't remember the exact game it was, but I was playing through it, and he happened to enjoy what I was saying. He's like, "Oh, I'll give it a look at it," and he ended up just watching all the cutscenes, because it was an older game. It was like a super cut of all the cutscenes, and he watched it all, and we talked about it, and there was multiple points where he was like, "This was kind of dumb," and I disagreed, because he was like, it was just kind of like. And then this happened. It's like, well, no, that didn't just happen. Like, you missed it throughout the entire game. Like, they're name dropping, and he's like, yeah, they just like say stuff about it. It's like, yeah, but like, I was working towards it. Like, the payoff was so much better for me because I actually that's what I was doing. The effort I put in the game and actually trying to get I believe it was like the good ending or something, right? And he's like, it was kind of okay. And I was like, the things I had to do to get this ending, like,
yeah, and
like the pride, the payoff, because of maybe it was the anticipation or whatnot, because of that investment, the payoff was so much
the
sweeter
gratification,
for me, right? It was so much sweeter for me, even though like from his point of view, just like the disconnection, the raw, just like supercut wasn't as gratifying, which is along the same lines of saying like if you just like compress the story and made it,
which is I guess kind of what I was trying to say about the different levels of investment,
right?
Of even in a linear story that would be difficult to translate into a show. Sorry, a movie.
A movie.
Now, to touch back to the long forgotten past of the start of this, I feel like with Assassin's Creed becoming a movie comes with a little bit of interest to see how they will, I don't know if they're going to try to ride the success of, but it will be influenced, at least from the way I'm looking at it, from the success of the Witcher series on Netflix.
Right.
That was a video game to cinema translation that was very well received.
Very well received. One thing I do want to point out is originally it was book, video game, and then
so I didn't know The Witcher was a book.
Yes, The Witcher originally was a very long running set of books, if I'm not mistaken, and then CD Projekt Red went to the writer and was like, we'd like to make an adaptation of it, which apparently is very faithful on multiple accounts, even though it's not the story in which each game takes place isn't a like exact book or anything, but just like the spirit apparently it captures very well. And so it's a little weird because it's the reference for, they've been on record, the reference for that the TV show adaptation is the game, right? But the game's reference was the books. So I feel like that in particular is it's a weird instance, because it's almost out of order in a way of like how we would the way the
assume
timeline
success would work.
Right.
No, that's really, and I'm wondering how much specifically genre affects.
Different genres would definitely affect translate differently, because they're,
which is something I worry about with Assassin's Creed, because
what do you mean?
Well, Assassin's Creed let's take the first game, for instance, where Altair was being piloted in the 21st century through the Animus.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. I forgot about that entire like subtext thing of the game because it's so small and is like kind of dropped later on. I completely forgot about that entire like subplot thing.
Yeah, the Animus, and
which is super cool. Which is super cool. I super enjoy it.
I feel like it now, mind you, it's no, and to quote an article I read, it's no Shakespeare play within a play.
Yeah.
It's not Midnight Summer's Dream.
No.
It is, in the first game, Damon, I do believe. Let me get my fact checker on this.
The first game was wasn't the first game Altair?
Yeah, Altair, but I'm talking about the modern day.
Oh, Damon. Yes, his name's Damon.
Desmond
Miles.
Desmond Miles was using information that he was getting from the Abstergo's Animus,
right,
going to locations as Altair that he would then be able to locate in the 21st century as himself, Desmond.
Right.
And then the two would bounce back between each other, and I feel like in a game itself, interesting idea. Translating that stark of a contrast might be awkward and clunky.
Oh, definitely. I feel it can be done. Definitely,
we're
can
not
be done.
directors.
Definitely,
we're not
definitely
screenwriters.
Definitely not.
But from a consumer and point of view,
Bouncing back and forth, I would argue there has been movies that have done very similar things, and are fairly easy to follow, and are well received, just based on like different techniques used to discern one from the other, right? So it's a little bit easier to follow. I will point out to most people that I've talked to, and some things I've seen on the internet, a lot of people feel like those first Assassin's Creed, the weakest part is actually switching over to Desmond. Is the part where you're like not an assassin anymore, you're just like regular guy doing like thingies or whatever, like hanging out. And so I feel like that might be a part, because I would agree that's the weakest part of the game, is the part where they're trying to do that like play within a play kind of thing, and not really hitting the mark, in my opinion. So the fact that it's the weakest part, and it is a difficult hurdle in the first place to go about making an adaptation for it, I feel like that's going to be very difficult, and a very fine line of whether or not it's going to be difficult. I'm not saying obviously they can't do it, we haven't seen it or anything yet, but I feel like will be very difficult just from the get-go, not only because of what it is, but that the source material, that is a point in which people aren't necessarily super fond of. So I'm not sure how they would go about that, to be honest.
All right. Now, I just had a thought.
Yeah.
When you were speaking of The Witcher,
Right.
of it being an exception to the rule by being a trifecta that has had 3 faces in mediums,
Right.
and 3 successes.
Yes. Which is typically not how we would see that happening, but yeah.
Though there is something coming on the horizon that may also achieve that exception to the rule.
What is that?
Harry Potter. That obviously started as a book,
yeah.
then went to movie, and with the new PS5 coming out, PS5 is my frame of reference, as I am a PlayStation player.
Right.
Consoles and PC, I believe, will be getting the new Harry Potter game.
Right.
Which is actually like a AAA type game that takes place several centuries before the...
Yes, I've seen quite a bit on it. I'm be honest. I'll be honest with you. It kind of looks like poo-poo. Doggy poo-poo bad. I'm be real with you.
I'm excited for it.
I know you are.
From what I've
but
seen...
I feel like you got them rose-tinted glasses on.
And boy, do I wear them well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. You looking hot, baby.
Now, I will... I haven't seen much to dissuade me. It doesn't look like... Now, mind you, I had a Game Boy Advance.
Right.
I had a chance to play some of those... Earlier... I'm not talking Lego Harry Potter here. I'm talking there was an actual attempt in the game that was...
not so good.
Let's just not put it in my top 10. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, this might be me, but I feel like it's half like not the source material. It's not something I'm as passionate about. Right?
Yes.
It's also the actual gameplay is not something that I'm typically fond of as either. And thirdly, I feel like it's a self-defense mechanism of I've seen this happen before, of like movie becomes game and it's typically, it doesn't end up going too well. So like as a self-defense mechanism, I'm like, it's bad. It's not going to be good.
And that is absolutely fair, but you're not the target audience. As
not.
Somebody who is the target audience, here is what I'm looking forward to.
Right.
It is not Harry Potter.
No,
It is not a recreation of
which I
Grindelwald
am right.
or Harry Potter. It excites me because it's going to add to a world lore
that is one of the few things that I am proud of them for not just trying to be like, it's Harry Potter again, woo! Because in my opinion, it's been done not only through movie,
and
but
actually, to be fair, this would be the fourth. The thought just hit my head. The fourth form of medium that it would be taking.
Yes, third,
because there was the
book, movie,
the movies of both Harry Potter and Grindelwald,
right,
and the play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. That didn't quite reach Harry Potter levels of success. But Harry Potter and the Cursed Child was a stage play that you could also buy. I've got it on my bookshelf in my living room.
We might have
where that actually takes place in the next generation.
Really?
Yes.
Hermione.
No, I apologize. Spoilers. Hermione is the Minister of Magic. Harry's an Auror. Voldemort's child.
I'm sorry. He's a what?
Voldemort had a child. Some people do not consider it canon.
Is it though? How does that fit in? Is it like an alternate universe kind of thing?
Well, let's just say there was a kind of a headache with some time turners. But it takes place from the point of view of Harry's son, who is placed in Slytherin and befriends Malfoy's son.
Yeah, this sounds like a weird timeline
and
kind of thing.
Then end up doing an oops, then doing a bigger oops, then having to jump back in time, basically to different points in Harry Potter's.
That's a cool idea.
Timeline,
like not even
to
just
fix
for a
problems
play.
They keep on making.
Right, not even just for a play, but just for like the universe in general. Like that's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I might actually have to give that a look. I'm not a huge fan of Harry Potter, but
the format it's written in is play.
Right.
So it'll have like, I apologize, I'm spacing on the name. It'll say like the name of who's talking,
right,
and then colon, and then it'll say the speech.
The syntax of play,
yeah, and it actually had a very successful play reception.
Like I'm not sure, like run, how you would say that, debut, perhaps
debut and continuation.
Oh, really?
They ran it in New York. I do believe New York. I apologize. I was unfortunately not able to see the play myself. I do know that it is on. You can stream it. Has not been something I have taken the time to watch. I've read it, and
we should do that at some point because I'm actually pretty interested.
Yeah, I did read it, and I found myself. I mean, I kind of went into it wrong. I wanted Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
I've done this exact same thing.
I set myself up based on not being more open-minded.
Yeah.
Based on how I fell in love and what I fell in love with about the particular universe. So this Harry Potter game that's taking place is going to be the fourth medium in a video game. And then there are some things on the internet that some of you may have seen, some of you may not have seen, and if it is an internet prank, my heart will break.
Right.
And that is the television show called Founders of the Harry Potter the Harry Potter world based television show about the four founders of Hogwarts.
I remember you talking to me
squealing
about
it.
Yeah, you kind of squealed about it for a little bit when you heard. So I remember we talked about it a little bit.
This is not near future.
No,
stuff.
no, this is like underbelly, like speculation issue things.
There was like a thing where somebody was cast as Rowena Ravenclaw,
right?
And like all of a sudden, people are like, "Wait, that's not a name from a nothing. That's a something."
Like that's a thing.
And generally, overall, I really do. I mean, just from childhood to adulthoods and introducing my kids to these. Now, with that, I do want to say, in light of events that have happened around Harry Potter, I do want to say that when it comes to the position that the author has taken, I do believe that in this moment, it is absolutely appropriate to separate the art from the artist.
Right, definitely.
We absolutely support people of all forms.
Yes.
Whether big, small, fat, thin, and every kind of person that you want or can be.
Definitely.
I appreciate the art and will fully admit that I separate it from the artist.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like there's quite a few things that I've enjoyed the art, but the actual artist, I disagree.
Absolutely.
Which is perfectly, I feel like it's perfectly fine. People tend to, especially nowadays, combine those two, where if you enjoy, a game or this or that, you also are like somehow saying it's okay for this person to be the way they are.
Yeah, 2.5 Men, funny. Am I drinking tiger blood? No, thank you.
You really try it sometime. It's pretty great.
I'll stick to my Frosted Flakes.
Is that as close you're getting?
Hopefully.
We'll see. But yeah. One of the few things I feel like people do a lot now is if you like one thing, then you're immediately like on board for everything that person says because you enjoy something they've created.
Absolutely. And there are some aspects of that where like if the artist is using their art to support and brand a view, lifestyle, and or opinion that is not one that is linear to my own personal morals, I will find myself steering away from it. If they are simply an artist who has an opinion, that is not in line with mine, or just straight up wrong, then, but lets the art tell its own story and speak for itself.
Definitely.
At that point in time, we just all have a decision to make.
I feel like that comes around to like different cases of depending on how the art is being used.
Exactly.
Where I've done it, we've all done it, where you may want to consume that piece of content, but the way it's being, perhaps like the platform it's on or something, you don't necessarily want to support. So even though you would enjoy watching or playing whatever that piece of content, you steer away from it. In this case, that's not typically that's not the case where it is definitely separate. It's not used as a piece of leverage.
Absolutely.
Which unfortunately is the way some content is being brandished right now, is almost as leverage to get people to see your views or support things. In that case, it's a choice, but with just out of that specific situation, I feel like it's perfectly fine to enjoy something that you might not necessarily enjoy other things that person has said or believe or even created.
Yeah, Ben Franklin, weird guy. A lot
Right?
of people still need bifocals.
Right. Exactly. What was the original point?
The original point was transitioning mediums for
Right.
the new Assassin's Creed movie
yes.
that will be coming out. The trepidation that we're feeling.
Do you have a date on that?
Let me go ahead and refer to my fact checker here.
Because it was a ways out, wasn't it? And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's a little ways out. But onto the same point I was having earlier, having different mediums, I feel like it's not the same. Like there isn't one way to conform them to make an adaptation of them, specifically for like especially games, because the way you play it could determine how you feel about it. So you could definitely go multiple different ways about it, and which I feel is interesting when different directors try to tackle the similar, like more recently comic books have been obviously have had different adaptations, and different directors have gone about it in different ways. Some well received, some not, some in between. But just going and pointing out and seeing the different way they go about doing that, and trying to express the original source material, I find this fascinating, especially from somebody that has no like film background or even comic book background at all. I feel it's just interesting to me of like how they went about it. It's very different.
Gotcha. At this point in time, I'm not finding a specific release date.
Is there
just
not?
2021.
Oh, so sometime.
Absolutely, there probably is one, but at this point in time, I just don't want to have to keep.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But sometime in 2021. So it's not like tomorrow, obviously.
No.
Which, I mean, movies, again, I don't have any like filming background, but like movies take a long time to like.
Especially oh my heavens, Carnival Row 2 was supposed to be out around this time, and Carnival Row 2 was an Amazon original that had Orlando Bloom starring in it. That was an amazing TV show that tackled a variety of issues in a very fantastical way. I encourage the audience who are 18 and older to watch it, as there is some adult content.
Right.
Powerful messages, fantastically told in a absolutely engaging way.
And there was going to be a movie adaptation?
There's a TV show that was supposed to have a season 2 that was supposed to come out.
Oh, I see.
That was delayed due to issues of the world at the moment.
Right.
So with all that being said, it really is going to be something I'm personally going to be keeping my eyes on with the Assassin's Creed movie and also the Harry Potter game. And
Definitely.
if any of you guys in the comments have any opinions, or if you guys want to add into the conversation, absolutely. That's kind of the whole point of why we're here. And let us know if there's anything that you're looking forward to, especially in things that are being transitioned from different medias of entertainment.
Yeah, we would love to hear your thoughts and maybe some different examples that you might have.
Absolutely.
With that being said, there's something I was actually thinking about. I actually mentioned it in the beginning. The Cyberpunk, which is something that is currently being transitioned into a game from a tabletop RPG. Here recently, the actual tabletop RPG core rules for the most recent edition came out, and I've just been like, ooh, little kid on Christmas Day, going through it, and it's with people that are not necessarily maybe familiar with tabletop games in particular. The core rule book is like the the main one, right? It has all the core rules. How about that? And it's a thick boy. Like it's not a small book. And I got the PDF because the hard copies don't ship until later on. So I've gotten the digital version first, and I'll probably pick up a hard copy later when they're actually ready to ship, because they're having trouble with printing right now. But I've been going through it, and it's different than the older editions. But I'm super excited to actually run a game of it because it's streamlined. One of the for people that might be more familiar with like D&D, it would be like 4th edition to 5th edition, where 4th is very technical, which some people like, but 5th edition definitely took the best parts of that and, maybe condensed them a little bit, made them a bit more concise, so it's a little bit easier, especially for new players, as well as just in between, day-to-day game stuff. Make it a little bit cleaner, make it a little bit easier.
Now, quick question. This is Cyberpunk Red.
Cyberpunk Red. So
now, to my question is, in the previous versions, as it's been adapting, it's been progressing through a linear timeline that runs adjacent to ours. I have a question for you.
What's that?
The new video game, Cyberpunk 77.
Right.
Do you think its mechanics and lore are going to tie more in with its more recent relative of Red, or do you think it's going to tie in more with earlier editions, and how much do you think its delayed release date is going to influence that?
So, as far as the lore goes, Cyberpunk Red is a direct continuation of 2020, the second edition, the most popular edition up to this point. And it's a direct continuation of that, and it's actually the missing link between 2077 and 2020. It's around 2048, if I'm not mistaken. It is a rough time, the time of the quote-unquote Red.
Not military time, but the year.
Yeah, the year.
About 2024-ish.
With the mechanics, because it, like we said, it translating mediums, it would be hard to say.
With obviously in Cyberpunk Red, we're going to be getting new juicy little bits of lore.
Definitely.
As it's going to be the link.
Definitely.
Do you think that the creators of both worked together so that way we'll see maybe some of the predecessing details that surface in 77?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you actually do think there was a work together and we'll actually see some playoff?
It wasn't just a work together. So originally, when they came to, when CD Projekt Red came to developers of Cyberpunk, they were like, we want to adapt this board game into a video game. And they were like, you know what, go ahead. And they said sure. It was a kind of a small thing, and they kept working on Red at the time, and they happened to actually call him up and was like, hey, I want to show you what we've got so far. And it had been like, I think it was an interview he did. I don't remember exactly what it was or who it was with, but he had mentioned it'd been like a month and a half, and he kind of forgot about it. He's like, oh yeah, I'll see your progress. And all they had was like some concept art and like a reload animation or something like that. And he saw it, and immediately he was like, oh, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. And he was giving them pointers because they were asking questions about lore, as well as just like the overall like style of how the world is and how it's portrayed, especially in older art, and how it's changed and adapt. What's that?
Oh, I was just getting back from my fact checker. CD Projekt is the developer for both Cyberpunk Red and 77.
What?
And as I'm looking at here right now, interesting thing is that the Cyberpunk 77 is actually going to be using the Red Engine 4 by a team of around 500 developers, exceeding the number that worked on the studio's previous game, which was The Witcher 3, which we were just talking about The Witcher earlier.
Which, going back to my earlier point of them working together, they had because he was giving them pointers, and their studios at the time were separate. So and he was giving them pointers through emails, as well as like he video chatted them at one point, and then they eventually were like, "Hey, you want to like come down and actually look at the studio?" And or he was in the area because his daughter lived around there or something like that.
Okay.
And he's like, "Hey, can I swing by and just see it?" And they're like, "Of course, totally." And he swung by, and he's like, "This is the coolest stuff." And he gave them tons of pointers. He talked to the whole staff of like all the project leads and stuff, and
and they just started spitballing, juices started flowing.
And apparently he inspired the whole team. So then they started flying him out like every 3 months or something like that. They would fly him out to where their headquarters are, and they were like, just like keep going. And they would spitball ideas. He would give people pointers, clarify some lore details, as well as like just inspire the team. And through that, they started to mesh and bounce off each other so much that they become like, because originally it was just going to be a if I'm not mistaken, just like it was just a game based around like the world, right? And over time, because they had meshed so well, the lore, the actual story of the game became the continuation from the point that they had left off, where he thought the lore of the current edition was going to leave off. Thus, so it is heavily, not only is it like heavily influenced, but it is canon. This game is by the original creator, fact-checked and approved lore and canon, which is, and only he approves of how they adapted mechanics, which obviously not 100% faithful, because board game to video game, there's going to be some lost in translation there, and also it's I believe more heavily based off of Red than it is say like 2020 or even prior editions. It's heavily based on the most recent edition and how they went about handling like combat and stuff nowadays, a bit more streamlined. But other than that, it is as faithful as you can get, because not to cut you off.
Yeah, the inner
because they were the just the raw communication and willingness to work together. It was very natural.
Okay. Obviously, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be drawing people who are craving more of that content to the board game. Sorry, the tabletop game. I apologize. It's whether it's a large or small, it's going to be a downhill thing in some kind of level.
Right.
As somebody who's already been DMing or GMing, I apologize.
Right.
I'm a D&D guy. He's a Cyberpunk guy.
Right.
As somebody who's going to be who's been running games before the game comes out, the video game,
right,
and somebody who will undoubtedly play the game and then continue running games afterwards, how much do you think the way that people are able to play, visualize, and interact with the world in the video game is going to affect the way and ultimately change the way that people play it at the table?
One of the things that I feel like will definitely influence them is, as somebody that has DM'd before, new players typically have issues of they don't know what to do. They don't understand the idea of like you can do anything, right? It is an open canvas, but with an like open world game, that is something you can do, and it's more easily conveyed.
So let me go ahead and rephrase my question.
Yeah.
So when Baldur's Gate 3, by the way, love the game. I've
Great
got
game.
triple digit numbers in the
It's
game already.
call for help.
I love D&D. I love the tabletop game.
Right.
I play a lot of 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually DMing 2 different games a week.
Which are
and
great, by the way.
Kyle is actually a barbarian in my Curse of Strahd campaign.
Great. Good stuff.
Which is going very well at the moment.
Yeah, it's great.
After Baldur's Gate came out, literally within 2 weeks of the game coming out, a mechanic that was already in 5th edition that was, I didn't see any of my players using at all, was the shove mechanic, which became very quickly iconic in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
And suddenly, where
People
it was
were like, that's a thing
not
you can do?
something that was really utilized at my personal tables,
Right.
became something that started making an appearance. And that's the kind of question
I see what you're saying.
mechanics or play styles or interaction with the world do you see the video game will inspire at the table by both new and old players alike?
By both of them. I would argue vehicles. The new game, obviously, being an actual world, and how obviously video games function, the need of getting to one end to the other. You're going to be, using vehicles, right? And something that a lot of times in games to kind of streamline things or get things across, when you say, oh, I go to the bar or whatever, I go here or there, I go talk to Billy Bob. Typically it's all right, you do that, you go there, and people don't really think of getting
The 4-hour walk.
right, the 4-hour walk, or getting a actual vehicle that could be used not only like to get places, whatever, but as a mobile haven, based on it being having equipment in it that you can't carry on person, right? Having maybe like if you especially get like a bulletproof car, it could be used as cover. You could be used to get out of danger, not only just to like get away, but like to be safe from enemy fire if you hide behind it or something along those lines, right? I mean, it's something that even myself, being the referee, as it's called in Cyberpunk, the GM, I didn't even think about. There's been multiple times where like, oh, you get in the car, you go to the thing.
Yeah, the levels of utility
Right.
that are available.
I didn't even think about like, well, this is an object. This is an actual thing that is here. It in my own headspace. As soon as I get to the place, even though the car is still there, obviously because I haven't drove it away, it kind of disappears in my mind, right? Because it's not relevant, right? And they go into to talk to Billy Bob or whatever. I never think of like something like a piece of equipment, right? That you might have to change out, maintain or change out at somewhere, right? It's not something you can keep on person. Doesn't mean you can't have it in the trunk of your car, right? And if there's a situation where there's an issue, there's no reason you can't just walk outside, pop the trunk, and grab the problem solver, right? Which I totally didn't even think of, which is something that's already been just through the little we've gotten from videos of the game. That's something that you can do, which totally makes sense for like the world. But nobody just really thought of using it, the vehicle, for more than just like, oh, you get somewhere faster, right?
Yeah.
The utility of actually having something to haul things around, which I think will definitely change the way not only that I build games, but how people play them as well, for the foreseeable future.
And that's I apologize. That's something I really love with these two specific examples that that have just been mentioned: Baldur's Gate and Fallout 77.
Fallout 77.
I apologize.
I've done that twice.
I have.
Cyberpunk
77.
2077.
If
Right.
you say so. D&D guy. He's the Cyberpunk guy. I apologize. That it really kind of brings a visualization and another way of interpretation.
Definitely, yeah.
To, like, in a game of D&D, like, all right, you walk into a pub and there's 7 people in there, and that one and there's one guy that's at the bar that you believe is going to be the next step of the task, to get information, to accept the quest,
whatever,
bring him to the jail and turn him over to law. But then having Baldur's Gate 3, where all 7 of those other people in that tavern being interactable NPCs, kind of brings that to the forefront of the mind of the player who might be at the table of all 7 of these.
They're not just like, oh, there's
Yeah,
straw men.
They
put around
absolutely
this.
can be, but you know the way I build campaigns.
Definitely, everybody's a person.
I have names. I
Right.
have stories for everyone. I've got
Which
terrible
sometimes
accents
never get used.
Yeah, no, there have been already in the game that you.
There's been several times where you've been like, oh, you didn't meet Billy Bob. I'm a little disappointed. I'm like, who? And he's like, there's a guy in the corner. Not important, but I just wanted you to talk to him.
Which, more or less, as a DM, I really shouldn't be doing that.
Right, but you know,
talking about things that you've missed. But sometimes it's just
it just kind of happens.
Yeah, it happens, especially with how much we do what we do.
Right,
talking.
Yeah.
Where I go through all this effort and trying to make sure that I have such a fleshed out world,
right,
that I know that you guys aren't going to be able to see 100% of.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to digest it all.
If you guys talk to the guy on the left, it may rule out the option for you guys to talk to the right, but doesn't mean the guy on the right doesn't have his own story.
Right.
And it really changes the world based on what you guys decide to do. Yeah. Or don't do, which is just as an important effect on the world as action.
I would agree. Yeah, it's in action. Something that actually affected me, because me and you run very different games. You tend to plan, almost over plan. Every detail, every you have, things for every kind of case. I tend to have like a general rough outline and then just wing it 90% of the time, which, I mean, obviously you sometimes have to do anyway. But just based on unforeseen events. But one of the things that really changed the way I DM entirely is there's been multiple occasions where I'm like, yeah, there's like 7 other people in the bar, but there's this guy over here that's at the actual bar, and he's
the NPC with the floating question mark.
And then the players are like, okay, that's cool, but remember that flavor text you gave us a while back about this guy like has a peg leg and it was a joke? I want to actually go talk to him, and I'm like, oh, like I didn't actually write anything for that, and then I just on the spot make something up.
4 words every DM and GM or referee have had to say. Of course you do.
Yeah, of course you do. And just an entire off the top of my head, pull something out of my butt, and then that entire NPC becomes fleshed out through them wanting to talk to him and me coming up with it, and then later I write him into the story, and he's now with the party. He's now an NPC that's rolling with the crew, which has really taught me that, like, no matter how much you plan, it's not going to survive first contact with players. Not 100%. Like, the rough outline will, you can make it, kind of smoosh it into into the outline that your player's made, but it's never going to go off the exact way you think it is. And if it does, then your players aren't playing right, in my opinion.
I have planned for every eventuality except for what kind of plant was next to the cup.
Exactly.
Guess what? The only question you asked was...
What's the plant next to the cup?
No, it's where do you get your cups?
You got me. It's been a minute since you've done that.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
But, I mean, no, mind you, I plan a lot of my people. I don't plan, like, my NPCs. Since we're talking about NPCs, I don't plan necessarily what they're going to say to the player.
Which you can't really.
What I do is I figure out what their name is, what their job is, what's their home life, like what's their home. They got a dog, they got kids, they got a wife, they got a husband, and they got 4 wives, 2 dogs, and half a kid. Like, it's I do like quick bullet points of that.
Right.
And because so many points of our life are based on pretty much those 3 things.
Right. You can almost make a.
Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, like it's how to be a human in 3 simple steps.
Yeah. And based on that, if there are a fisherman with a wife and 4 kids, they're probably at that tavern for a bit of peace and quiet.
Right.
So they're maybe not going to be chatty. If they are a... oh, by the way, the 4th thing I plan is what they're wearing. I never plan a second outfit. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but what are they wearing? Is generally something I have broad strokes on.
Right.
Because that also can give like a certain air and essence. If someone is in an absolute dive bar wearing fine silks...
There's something about that, right?
Yeah, why are they there?
Yeah, exactly.
They're on hard times, they just lost their trade, or they grew up in the poor part of town,
and they've come up.
This is where their dad used to drag them.
Right.
You know, at the end of a long, hard day, because for some reason mom wasn't there. Oh, I guess mom passed away, or left him for another man. And that's how all these stories...
Wow, that's
about
dark.
Took
a weird turn.
Well, it's D&D. What do you want?
Right.
Where I'll put a couple of these bullet points down where question mark, fill them out real quick, move on to the next one, and basically how they all interact in their own cities. I figure out how an NPC interacts in their environments, and then the player happens to them.
Yeah.
I don't have to... If they're like, yeah, I know I'm in a certain social or work circle that would have me know about fishermen disappearing, that's something I might be able to drop to the player.
Right.
If they are like a scullery maid to the local Baron's Keep, they're not probably going to know what the weather's going to be like in a month.
Right.
You know? Or the higher echelons of deictic ranking.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I used all those words right.
We'll have to double check it.
Yeah, we'll get our fact checker on that. But yeah, back to 77.
Yes.
Which is where we started.
Was it?
Well, not us. It's a different timeline.
Oh, got it. But back to 2077. If that game comes out and it's not good, I will cry many manful tears.
All right. We've discussed this in person, but as more has come out, more information, and as opinions evolve with time.
Right.
How much do you think the experience of Cyberpunk 77 will be heightened by the addition of virtual reality mechanics?
So, I'm going to be honest. I have a strange love-hate relationship with VR in general. I have a headset that I never use. Not that I don't enjoy it. I just don't think, personally, many games benefit from it, at least from obviously there's going to be like games that are meant for it, but I don't think it's that much more immersive than, at least to me, than a screen, especially if you have good headphones on.
I've got to strap you into Five Nights at Freddy's in VR, dude.
No.
It changes not only the game, but it'll change you.
And my pants.
Oh, man, you beat me to the joke.
We hang out too much.
A little bit.
I don't know. Honestly, that's something that I'm having an internal struggle about, where I definitely enjoy VR, and I think it definitely does increase the immersion of the experience, but I don't find myself going to put it on, and I don't know why, to be honest. Maybe it is like my particular setup's a bit of a pain to set up, so that could be part of it, but it could also, I honestly, like, typically with the games that I'm playing, I feel like the genres in particular don't benefit from it a whole lot.
Gotcha. So, a question for you guys out there. Question of the week. We've talked about books and video games being translated smoothly, or more times than not so smoothly, into different areas of cinema. And as video games are definitely not new,
Yeah.
but in comparison to the talkies and the movies,
writing.
Yeah. In the big picture, it is a relatively small footprint in the grand timeline of entertainment.
Culture.
We are looking at maybe a new facet of that.
Right.
How well do you guys, and put your answer in the comments down below, how well do you guys find normal, well, I say normal, the current format of video games, as in from console to games to PC, I apologize. How do you find that translating to VR, and how well do you think it might go the other way? A VR game translating to just a screen.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Those kind of future translations might work?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It might be a topic we cover next week.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to look into that. That's
awesome.
Fascinating.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much. I hope this has been an amazing episode.
Definitely.
For our amazing channel, Mimicreee.
I guess we'll talk to y'all next week.
All right. We look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully you look forward to hearing from us.
Definitely.
Once again, my name has been TJ.
And I've been Kyle.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.